Perfect.
Oh, and there's
Oh, there
Tony
he
too.
is.
There he is.
Tony's clone is in the house. Tony's going to be teaching a Kickstarter mastermind and a Zoom background fuckery mastermind coming. Hello and welcome to Pilothouse Hot Seat, the show where we grill amazing brands to uncover the secrets of their success while providing valuable insights into their digital marketing. Today, we are very lucky to have a co-founder of one of my favorite direct-to-consumer brands in the world, Vessi Footwear, the world's first 100% waterproof shoe with stylish designs and excellent content. In only a few years, Vessi has stormed the social media world to become an 8-figure e-commerce brand. Today, we are talking with Tony Yu about some of their awesome Giveback programs to discuss how they're helping the world in this crisis that we're all facing, and how their generosity is helping them continue to grow exponentially, even in a footwear section that is down as much as 60%, I actually read, due to this crisis. So Tony, welcome to the hot seat. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Eric. Yeah, it's been interesting times for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was down 60%. I was reading 40, but
yeah, I just did some research. I saw basketball shoes are down 70% right now.
Wow.
The article was saying 60 across the board for athletic footwear. Yeah, what are you seeing right now with your numbers?
yeah. So I guess like the first week, it was probably the second week of March where we did see that type of downturn. Not as much as 60%. We were down around like 40 or so, based off of like existing like run rate. But we saw like our CPMs, they started dropping, which is, it's good, but then the conversion rates all dropped across the board, which isn't good. So we decided to like shift our marketing budget over to helping like community initiatives, right? So that really accelerated our growth actually. So once we did that, we actually 3x'd our business
Wow.
from just that messaging shift.
Just talk about that a little bit. This is funny. When in my last event that I ran with iStack in Barcelona, we had a guy come up on stage and just talk about the Giveback programs that he was building out with his brand and how effective they were. It was also the only time in any one of the like 12 events that I ever ran that the whole audience gave like a full applause break. Just, I think it's such an interesting position because so many of us are in these booming businesses and we're seeing all this great benefit, that there's this real hunger, I think, to support people who are doing these kinds of give back kind of initiatives. Can you tell us what you did, how you came to it, and how it worked out?
Yeah, for sure. So our shoes are great for a lot of different communities. Dog walking communities, like nursing communities started getting really popular for us just because of the waterproof nature of the shoe and how comfortable it is. Before we started the brand, we didn't know that you could get feces or urine on your shoes like that, but it's a very common problem in the nursing practice. Apparently, IV drips, blood, all that stuff. When the COVID situation started breaking out, there was a lot of coverage on like frontline healthcare workers. Big population of our community are nurses, doctors, part of these frontline people. So we wanted to do something to give back to them. So we decided to give out 2,000 pairs of shoes to anyone on the front lines working the COVID cases. That was kind of the first step. When we got way more like requests for free shoes, then we could actually afford to give out as a startup. We asked our community, we looked at them and said like, how else can we help? And that resounding answer was, PPE donations. So like face masks, surgical gowns, and even like a good discount on the shoes would be like really appreciated. So ran the numbers, ended up doing both within the span of like a day or two. And we ran a model called like the choose what you pay model. So we had 3 prices. really big discount, slightly less of a big discount, and then a regular price. And at each tier, there would be different contributions that we would make from profits to purchase like additional masks in contribution to medical workers. So campaign ran for around what was that, like just over 2 weeks, and we raised enough to buy 400,000 surgical masks, which was pretty amazing.
That is so cool. Yeah.
That's
So you're giving back, you're helping these communities. And then how did that, not to bring it right back to ROAS, but how did that end up impacting your sales?
I think it's a mix of both the discount, so like a sale, and like a triple bottom line type of approach. Yeah, we got a huge lift.
Did you get press on it? Did you get like, did newspapers write about it and things?
So we didn't. No, it was just like a word of mouth, like our own community. I guess we're not very popular in the States with some of the other brands that exist down there. So yeah, not a lot of press coverage. I think we might have got like maybe one article, but really just like word of mouth. And then, yeah.
How did you go about actually giving away the 2,000 units? Like, I know a lot of brands out there probably have inventory. Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, so operationally at the back end, the first idea was like we were talking to like individual hospitals, and we would see how we could like bulk ship it to them, and then have them distribute it. But ran into like a bunch more like logistical problems. So what we ended up doing was we just set up a landing page. People would go there, fill out the form, submit like the required information, and then we would just select from the list of people that we got.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Verified. Yeah.
Can you talk, and sorry, Eric, I don't mean to jump in, but can you talk a little bit about, like, I think it's so great to see companies that can mix building a profitable business with giving back, especially being able to pivot so quickly. Can you talk a little bit about the specifics on, what changed when you launched this campaign? You said you were down around 40%. You guys kind of put your heads together, talked to people in need, and said, okay, we're gonna launch this new campaign. And I think you said you tripled kind of within this campaign in terms of sales volume. Can you talk about the effects of this campaign on your front end metrics and then on your back end metrics as well? Were you seeing like crazy high conversion rates or crazy cheap costs from Facebook or YouTube or wherever you guys advertise? I think we can talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. I won't get like the specific numbers, but we dropped our acquisition costs by around 90%.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm gonna mute myself so I don't keep doing that.
We dropped it by like 90%, and it stayed pretty consistent until we started like our inventory started running out. And then as our inventory started diminishing, then the acquisition cost started to climb a little bit, but ended off at around like an 80% drop from before the crisis, I guess, before COVID. Now, the bottom line though is a little bit different because we're running a discount and we were taking basically the profits that we'd make on people who were contributing, and we would just like roll that through and purchase masks. So bottom line is just enough for our company to like kind of stay afloat, keep the lights on and stuff. So yeah, that was good. But and at the same time, we can give back, we can help our community. So really more of like a long-term strategy, long-term play with that. Now, yeah, 80 to 90% drop in like customer acquisition. Our ROAS was pretty consistent around like 7 times.
Wow.
Yeah, with a blended between like prospecting and also retargeting. I'm sure like if some people just like they screenshot their retargeting and they like, oh, like we got like 400 times return on ad spend. I'm sure we have those numbers, but yeah, our blended was probably closer to 7.
What date did that go live, Tony?
on the 27th of March. We just stopped it on the 14th. So just over 2 weeks.
And that was just inventory issues and things like that in terms of why you stopped it?
Um,
or a budget or whatever have you?
Well, so inventory problems. We didn't anticipate for that type of growth. So we burned through our inventory really quickly. It's coming back online again pretty shortly here, but that was like one reason. And I guess the second one was we needed to like close off the campaign so we could actually get these masks shipped and donated in like a timely manner. So if we kept that going, we wouldn't be able to continue purchasing at like large amounts. So wanted to close it off, get the mask shipped out, and then we can revisit the situation again.
Yeah. Very cool.
That's so cool. So cool. Well done
on all of this. That's awesome. So even more nitty gritty here. Like, did you basically, you created video content? Because your video content has always been like, on the cutting edge of what's working in the space. And you always seem to be testing lots of different angles. Was it just a matter of working with your agency or building internally to create a video that told the story of what you wanted to do? Did you build out a pre-sales page that fed to that? What was the actual nitty gritty of getting this message out effectively?
Yeah, it was tested a few different messages, but really like the offer plus the masks really did that. They would get directed to our PDP, and then right there you could like learn more about like what is going on and how you can apply these different discounts. And it was like I guess for that initiative specifically, it was like pretty easy to understand. So if you chose like the middle discount tier, we would donate or use the additional profits and purchase like 80 masks on your behalf. If you purchased at the full price, we'd buy X amount of masks. I think it was 110 masks. Yeah, at that price.
Can you share, and this is just out of curiosity's sake, what tier people kind of distributed into? Like, did most people pay full price and they were stoked to give the 30%, or do most people take the biggest discount they could?
Yeah, most people took the biggest discount. So I think that's just this standard humanity thing. It's like there's a percentage of doers, and that we're seeing that as well with our new campaign here. But there's a lot of people that they just really want to support in any way that they can with a little bit of effort, but not like going all the way. So for this campaign, most people took the full discount, and with the full discount, we wouldn't have additional profits to purchase masks. They would just take, and we would hope that they would just do something else to contribute. And for us, like that discount gives them a break on, if you don't have a lot of money right now, you're out of a job. It gives you that break to have some new shoes as well. So no masks, 80 masks, and then 110 is what we did. Yeah.
Very cool, man.
And yeah, so this campaign, there's so many, what we talk a lot about on our weekly podcast is our ability to create ad texts that speak to the crisis and message the moment specifically. But this is great advice for brands out there to take it that step further. Don't just message the moment and help people understand or understand where people are at and try to get them to buy your product. Actually take that next level and do something positive about what we're seeing. So anyone watching out there with a brand, and this is something that we can potentially even bring to some of our brands as well that we're representing, to say, hey, is there an angle where we could be actually helping? I think it's a great piece of advice. Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That like there's so many opportunities right now. There's a lot of opportunities in the market right now, like with everyone kind of thinking about the same scenario. So it's like, as brands, like how do you speak to that specific mindset? But with that, it's like, if if the whole world right now is focused on this like one thing, and all brands are also trying to target those customers, then you just have to move really quickly because those opportunities will fade immediately. So like for the shoe giveaway, for example, once we did it, a bunch of other brands started doing the same thing, and Crocs was giving out like, I think they gave out 1 million pairs of shoes or something. But then everyone started to give out to like the healthcare workers. So it has like a nice peak, so you can be like first mover advantage, and then it'll have like a pretty drastic diminishing returns.
I wanted, this is one thing that we pride ourselves on as an agency, is that ability to sort of like have an idea, get the team behind the idea, and execute on it like all in the same day. How long of an iteration process was it for you guys to go from like the idea through to execution? Was it like just a couple days?
For the first campaign, it was a couple days. Yeah. The most difficult part is like drafting out that copy and just like making sure that we had all our bases covered. As a brand, it's like, I feel like there's more and more people now. Well, even like with this, especially with this situation going on, they're really looking to brands to see what brands are doing, and if there's like any slip ups, then hell will break loose. So we've seen that with a couple like D2C companies already, and how quickly you react to that potential backlash or react to positive outlooks is a good indication of how quickly you can move in these scenarios.
Yeah, and again, I'll go back. The meme that I keep seeing is like, everyone in your inbox, every company you've ever given your email address is messaging you to say here's what we're doing about the crisis. But I 99% of them are probably doing nothing. 99% of them are probably, so it just gives you that opportunity again to stand out as a brand when you're actually like, you're going to hit someone's inbox with what you're doing, but it's actually relevant and it matters.
Yeah, for sure. I was seeing all those memes too. It's like a message from our CEO, or it's like, in these trying times, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's like, what are they really doing? I'm sure some of them are doing some good things on the back end, but we want to figure out like how we can enable now our community to do better, to like spread this like bit of happiness. So once we closed up that last like mass donation campaign, we just rolled out this new one, which we set up what we're calling a Vessi community fund, where we basically fund community projects that are helping any type of like COVID relief. So whatever idea you have, we have people that are painting murals for hospitals to like spread a bit of joy. We have people delivering groceries to the senior homes that aren't able to go outside, people buying medicine. One of our friends over in New York, she was part of this COVID relief or like volunteer network. Started out with like 20 people on a Slack channel, and what they do is seniors would call in, and then they would the call center would route to like a local volunteer within like a 3-kilometer radius. The volunteer would then go buy the groceries, drop it off, and then the community would reimburse them for the groceries. And then since like as of like 2 weeks ago, when they started, now the community is over 1,000 people. So it's like, how can we as a brand kind of like spark up those initiatives and get these kind of creative juices flowing? And that's why we created the Vessi Community Fund. Right now we're giving out $1,000 a day, and then we're injecting $100,000 for like micro projects, I guess. Yeah.
Wow. Even that next level of actually like, because PPE is important, but to take it to that next level where you're actually like, yeah, to me seniors in this whole situation, I've got a grandma who's 93 in Ontario, and it's just like, even if she just gets a phone call, I think, I'm calling her on the daily just to like keep her connected or whatever, but just just those community touch points are so important for people at this time, which is why we're all Zooming all the time, and just trying to keep connected to people, because it's a challenging time. How are you personally doing during these times?
I'm great. I found out recently I'm like more of a homebody, so I love like staying at home. I love working, I guess, just doing my own thing. But it's nice to go outside. It's like especially in Vancouver where it's so sunny, and Victoria, you have to go outside.
And your product is, like you say, like I'm a dog walker, and your product is just built for all the things. Well, people are like, wearing shoes is way down. Like just wearing shoes in general, like and actually as the spring is coming out, I'm wearing my sneakers a bit more. But when you go outside, these, especially West Coast life, your shoes are what are sort of perfectly built for the summertime out there. I wanted to ask you about sneakers a little bit. Like what are your, like, what made you guys want to start a sneaker company? I think this whole direct to consumer sneaker business has really just blown up in the last couple years. I've seen a bunch of other sort of like other brands come out. I wanted to ask, like, your inspiration for building the business, and I wanted to ask who you consider your main competitors at this point.
Sure. So I can't take the credit for like coming up with the idea. I have two other really amazing co-founders, Michaela, and then Andy. So Andy he's the shoe guy, right? So he started out working in shoe factories and worked his way up to dealing with like bigger contracts with like Adidas, Skechers, and all that stuff. Back in around like 2016, you started noticing this trend towards like more knit materials. So like the Nike Roche, I don't know what they're called, like Roches.
Yep.
They came out, and he was kind of on that forefront. He could see this like new innovation coming up. It was easier to manufacture, it was more comfortable, it was quicker to manufacture, and more sustainable, right? So being a shoe guy, you like love that space, but also living in Vancouver and traveling a lot, you can't actually wear those knit shoes when it's raining or for basically like 3/4 of the year. So working with really close material tech, we were able to develop a knit shoe, so retain all of the same properties as like those Roches, but had like full waterproof capabilities, in addition to the insulative tech, so you can wear it in the snow, and then also high breathability for like the summer heat, spring. So.
And when did you know that it was going to be how big was your first order?
So we launched on Kickstarter in 2018. I think we ran around like $1 million. Can't remember the exact number, like 1.3 million or something, with a crowdfunding campaign. And then like throughout that first year, up until September, we were just setting up the production. So our first order was around 20,000 units. So it was good. Funny stories, like, so we actually own our factory as well, which gives us that really high level like quality control and ability to tweak our product as our consumers start voicing like different opinions. We're over in Taiwan, which is where our factory is, for the first batch, and I actually noticed a leak in my shoes, which would have been really bad as that first production went out. But we were able to stop the complete like full production. We chopped up my shoes and figured out where that leak was, added one more process into the line, and saved like that first batch of 20,000 units.
That's amazing. That is quite a find.
When did you, okay, so you do a Kickstarter, you raise $1 million. That's huge. It's out of the gate. You're coming out, you're like, obviously there's demand for this. When did you decide to buy a factory? I mean, was that out of the gate? Were you just like, fuck it, we're doing it? Or was that like, okay, let's go for a couple of years, let's see how it goes, and then buy a factory?
Yeah, so the factory's not actually that expensive. In addition to like the JV that we established with our factory, it made more sense to purchase it with that JV. So we get all the benefits of like owning our factory without the financial constraints. That makes sense.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then on top of that, allows us to protect our IP. If we had moved directly to China initially with a non like partner factory, chances are the tech would have been all over the place right now, and we would lose that type of like competitive advantage like as we start trying to build out our brand. So I think that was a good decision. Obviously capital intensive to out of the gate like invest in such a factory, but I think it worked out.
Yeah, so far.
So far, yeah.
Unreal.
I saw in your bio, I was reading up another article. I think that one of your other founders, Michaela, I think was written up about, and she said that maybe it was you or maybe the other founder has like a ton of experience in Kickstarter specifically, with like over 10 different products on Kickstarter, having found some traction. Like, first of all, when are you doing your Kickstarter mastermind? And like, what's the secret? What's the secret to getting so much traction so often on Kickstarter?
Yeah, so that's actually Michaela and myself who we started and launched a bunch of like Kickstarter products, and then we rolled them into companies. But it's really like product positioning and messaging, plus like a bunch of like different ways to understand that kind of network and how to drive ads to that specific type of customer. And then once you have that like formula, it's really, well, not really simple, but it's like more standardized as a plug and play. So really you can take almost any idea and tweak it so it fits that like Kickstarter format. Yeah, I and like through that process, we found a lot of similarities in like different, I guess, like different selling verticals. So similar would be something like a QVC, right? So what's a QVC type product, or what's a Shark Tank type product? How do you like come up with the idea and feed it into that specific QVC customer base, and like how do you sell to them directly, and how do you portray that message, right? So same thing with Kickstarter. How do you portray it to that specific type of audience?
Interesting. I think I'm waiting for the mastermind, because I think people would just want to know what that formula is. Is it still as viable an opportunity in 2020? Do you think, using the similar tactics that you've kind of done?
Yeah, for sure. At the end of the day, I think like marketing is like really just like psychology, and I think like human psychology, and I think if you understand how to position and craft your product and the messaging properly, you could do that in any time. I think we've been seeing more like even like larger companies come into like Kickstarter or crowdfunding. It's a great way to test an idea and test like product market fit before sinking a bunch of money into the company. So like for Vessi, for example, I think we probably spent like $10,000 to launch it, and now we're like mid 8, close to 9-figure company.
Crazy.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Just on the Kickstarter details, is it like, obviously you've had success building and launching companies on a Kickstarter? Is it also a viable channel? Is it something you guys look into where you use Kickstarter to launch new product lines within the company? So like, is there any advantage to that in terms of, okay, we have a new, I don't know, knit boot or something, and all of a sudden knit boot is getting launched on Kickstarter? For
sure. Yeah. Definitely like easier if you have an existing customer base. So yeah, definitely viable. Really great brand that we look up to is called Peak Designs. So they started on Kickstarter really early days, I think like 2012 maybe, with a nice camera clip, and they've grown that business significantly. They launch a lot of new innovative products through Kickstarter, and they've been consistently like crushing like millions of dollars in like a couple days. So
That's amazing. And how much of that would you say is like, I'm guessing it's predominantly Facebook ads to run to Kickstarter. How much of that do you think is driven by the Facebook ads versus obviously you need a good product for that to work, but like, is that the key to the success of good Kickstarters? Like, you have to have this strategy for Facebook ads. Like, obviously there are agencies that specialize in this. I remember I was at some conference a while ago, and there's like 3 or 4 Kickstarter specific agencies there.
There's definitely like a specific way to run Facebook ads. I would say the platform itself, like Kickstarter itself, has, I think they have around 6.5 million repeat buyers on the platform. So it's like people who have purchased more than one time, and they keep on coming back. So if you understand the algorithm within Kickstarter, you can rank at the top of like a popular page, for example, and then the organic will give you a massive lift. We've, like, in the past, like the campaigns that we've ran, we've seen around like an average, between like 7 to 15% ad spend over gross sales, attributed to like Facebook and affiliates.
Got it.
So
very cool.
The lift is pretty significant. And even if you're driving the Facebook ads, they might not be like, for us, like when we drive Facebook ads, we just trying to hit like a break-even point if we're running on Kickstarter, because we see that organic lift. So just running it through like your proper models, your spreadsheets, to make sure you can do that is kind of like one part of the process, the one part of the formula. So
very cool.
I wanted to ask at this point, so like if the shoe industry is down as a whole right now, who do you see your competitors at this point? Is it other Kickstarter shoe brands? Is it other direct to consumer shoe brands? Like, I guess all shoe brands have, like, Nike pivoted, I know, in the last couple of years to be a lot more direct to consumer. I'm on the Nike side a lot, so I see their ads following me around everywhere. How do you view your sort of competitive landscape right now?
So I think there's obviously the other D2C shoe brands, like the media darling companies who are always in front of press. So those are, I wouldn't say like direct competitors, because we kind of offer a different product than them. And then there's the up and comers, right? And I think those are the ones that are that you'd probably want to look out for, because they're probably scrappier and they're probably more agile, so they can like move on different initiatives a lot quicker, much like we have. So if they're able to gain traction for almost like an identical product as us, then they can potentially pose a threat. But I don't think we don't have any direct competitors. I mean, there's tons of shoe companies. I think there's many ways for all brands to succeed in the same space. So yeah, I'm not too worried.
Cool.
Yeah.
What else did I want to talk about here? I think one of the other really interesting areas was, like, where are you seeing your wins in terms of traffic right now? We did a little SimilarWeb, scoping out the company. We saw, like, according to SimilarWeb, you guys have a really high focus on YouTube right now. Is that accurate? And is that, like, where are you seeing your big traffic wins?
YouTube is big. Instagram and Facebook is still probably the biggest for us. Yeah. But we did start doing more like YouTube integrations at the maybe like February of this year. Integrations have done well. Harder to track. Yeah, so like paid sponsorships within the program itself.
Got it.
That has done well, and then we make it back up on the retargeting aspect. So once we get pixeled but once we have them pixeled, then we can feed them with like different funnels.
So that's working with influencers and that kind of thing, getting them to push your product. You might lose money on the front end on the top of funnel, but you make it up on the back end.
Yeah. So the ones that we've been running, they're profitable usually on the front end, but also on the back end, we make it up and we get the incremental lift.
Nice.
So, for the YouTube channel, we look at really like impressions, click-through rates, and then, what they're charging for the integrations. There's some people cost like $300,000 for like a 30-second integration.
Like Logan Paul or something, or
David Dobrik, I think, is like really up there, but he crushes. So
wow.
Do you sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, there's a ton, right? But it's a really finicky channel, because you can find success in one, but you have no idea why they worked. I see that with like some of our friends' companies. Like he showed me a video, and it was it's like a news channel, and it was like a 30-second clip of the guy talking about the product in like a 45-minute video. So I think it was like positioned at like 20 minutes or something. The guy talks about it for like 30 seconds to a minute, and they generated like over $300,000 from that, like direct sales attribution. But I still have no idea like why that would work.
So can you like, how do you, because that's a really good point, and that's something that people always have trouble with when they're talking about influencers or specific channels, where it's not just letting the algorithm on Facebook handle it all for you. How, like, what's your internal process? I mean, you guys only launched in February for that, and like a couple things have happened globally since then, so I don't know how much of a focus the process is, but how are you going to figure out how to scale it? Like, how are you going to find those integrations that do work on a repeatable basis?
We have it's tricky. Good friend of mine taught me this, but like what you do basically is it's like a shotgun approach, right? Take $100,000, split it into let's call it 10 campaigns or 10 integrations, maybe like a couple thousand here, 20,000 here. Split them up, get like a consolidated like CPM rate, and then within the 10, you'll probably find like 2 or 3 winners. By winners, I mean like either break even or above. Take those 2 or 3 and roll them into the next month. And then you start building up your like month 1, month 2, month 3. And then you just keep on testing. So you move month 1 winners down to month 2. And then you move month 1 and 2 down to month 3. And now all of a sudden you have like nine producers, for example. And then at a certain spend level, you switch between prospecting and then like feeding the producers with more integrations.
Nice, Tony. And on that note, how does the creative come into play? Like, what if you had the right, the right person, but you just used the wrong creative, or it was just a bad, storytelling or whatever? How do you guys sort of deal with that?
Yeah, so we apply a lot of our knowledge on what's worked with like our customers, and then really just hand it over to the YouTubers to see how they would manipulate that type of information to sell to their own, or like explain to their own audience, right? It's hard to get you don't want it to be like a rigid type of story that everyone tells. Because that won't work with everyone's audiences, right? So really just like a really high level key points, what you can do with the shoe, right? So if Eric was talking about the shoe, maybe you would explain or show yourself walking your dog and then like running through some puddles. Maybe you say it's the best shoes for, what's your dog's name? Like Charlie. So maybe it's like Charlie's favorite human shoes or something like that, and then you would show Charlie like running through the mud. But we really rely on like our YouTubers, our partnerships, to figure out the best way to tell our story for their customers. And then, like, to your point where you, like, yeah, maybe the story wasn't right, we would analyze that. And some of the times it might just be that the partnership itself, they didn't have enough like belief in the product to really craft that proper story. And at that point we wouldn't work with them. So.
Very cool. And do you follow up on those, video views with your own, and those audiences with your own advertising, like your internal YouTube vids for, in-stream and things like that?
We do, yeah. So we have some pre-rolls running as well, like the in-stream ads.
Very cool.
Sure.
How do you find? How does that compare, your own internal ads? How does that compare performance-wise to those winners on the front end?
We haven't. It's okay. We haven't been able to scale it though. So, yeah, not a huge amount of spend on the paid like pre-roll side, but that does take the retargeting into approach, right, on the videos that we've dropped on. So it helps for sure.
Very cool. I wanted to ask, this isn't the best time for this question because retail is kind of is hurting right now, but have you guys explored retail strategies? Have you tried to get into Target or Dick's or any of these stores? What are your thoughts on retail?
Yeah, I like retail. I mean, before this, I think it was like the stats were like 85% of all commerce is still done in brick and mortar. We've also found that to work really well for us. So in the first year that we launched, like tail end of 2018, we ran a pop-up store, and then we did another one in Toronto, and we were going to go down to New York, but then we ended up selling out of inventory, so that didn't work out too well. But whenever we dropped the pop-up store, it allowed our customers to come in, try on the shoe, and really experience it, an experience that they wouldn't be able to like get online, right? So when we dropped those retail stores, we did see like an overall lift on the offline side and the online side, increase in the conversion rates within that kind of like geolocation that we dropped in as well. So love retail. I think it gives our community, our customers, that experience that they're looking for. But now obviously it's not the right time. So we were looking at kind of a US and Canada expansion this year with a few retail stores, but luckily didn't end up signing all those leases before the situation happened.
Yeah, it's, I think about, we had Josh on the podcast, and he's in a similar, in a 8-figure business trending to 9. And I know that retail, getting into stores like, Costco have been a big thing for him. Is that, you're talking specifically about your own retail experience, which makes a lot of sense, especially considering the novel aspect of your shoe being waterproof and being able to demonstrate that. But what about getting into like some of the mainstream retailers? Has that been on your radar as well?
It has. Once I think we shore up like more inventory for ourselves first, then we would consider that. We've gotten a lot of calls from like big box retailers wanting to roll our product in. But I guess how we're looking at it is like, how can we give our customers the best experience, our community the best experience first off, as a young brand, before, let's say, we move into like what's a good, like a Foot Locker, for example, where your product ends up just being another shoe on the shelf, right? And if we don't have that type of experience, a way to explain our product, then, I mean, it's made to look like every other shoe. Like no one would know the difference, and then it might not move. Our customers don't like walk away with like that same type of experience that we could provide them through our online commerce or like our own retail stores.
That makes sense. You're going up against the swoosh too, right? Like you're going up against these 100-year-old brands that on a shoe wall, you're not, learning, like you say, you're not controlling the customer experience in the same way. That's really interesting. That makes a lot of sense.
For sure. Yeah. Like how we design our stores is really like it's an experience, right? And we've like tailored this over the pop-ups and the experience centers that we've done. People can walk in. We have a shoe bar on like the right hand side. When you go, you pick up like a pair of shoes, and then we have like in-store streams and water walkways built out in the store where you can actually like put on the shoe and walk through water and feel what that experience is like. And that has worked like extremely well for us.
Oh yeah.
Let me see it.
I love that.
I have a video.
Yeah, post it up.
That reminds me of the like the little shoe trying areas at REI or at Mountain Equipment Co-op here in Canada, where you walk like boulders,
the hiking boots.
Here's a question: how do you like you've obviously done very well up to this point? You guys are scaling fast. How do you? And I'm not sure what you can and can't talk about, but how do you 10x this? Like, how do you get like you have this amazing niche where you've got this waterproof shoe that no one's seen before. Everyone loves your product. Is the plan to kind of stay within that niche and stay in your lane, or is it to like expand horizontally and capture 10, 20, 100x more of the market? And how do you do that?
Yeah, we think about building a brand and definitely like layers. So in the first year of our business, we were very focused on like waterproof. And that gives us kind of like a wedge into the market. We wanted like very early on to be the first thought that came to mind whenever it was raining outside, like what shoe are you going to put on? When you walk your dog outside, what shoe is that you're going to put on? And because there wasn't a lot of competition in that space, for us, it's much easier to, I guess, like win over that like neural network and make that like brand association. So first year was Vessi is waterproof. We just kept on hammering that message, and that's why you'll see all those creatives as our shoe in the water, our shoe doing things with water. And then we listen to our customers and really like understand what our customers are using our shoes for. And turns out it's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of like work related stuff like nurses. We have a lot of hiking people. And then we start leaning into that type of brand message, and slowly like you build out like one layer by layer, and then you have a brand kind of like that. Are we staying within like the waterproof space? Like now, like we are in the short term. And really, I think like we'll listen and we'll see what our customers are looking for, and we'll see if it makes sense for us to innovate in that direction, provide our customers with that type of tool to like live their own life. I guess like Vessi's focus is really how can we like spark a little bit of happiness in like your life. We want to create products that enable you to choose the life you want to live. We understand that like everyone finds happiness from a lot of different things. Eric, you might find happiness walking your dog. I find happiness just like sitting outside and doing nothing or going on short hikes. But who are we as a brand to tell you what you should be doing? If it's like running or whatever, we just want to create the products to kind of enable that happiness, like whatever you choose, want to be happy with.
And that's the beauty of shoes, because they're your foundation for whatever you're doing, especially outdoors. Yeah. Right? That's really cool. Well, we're coming up on an hour here. This has been fantastic. I wanted to ask one last question about whether, with all that you've learned about the success of these Giveback campaigns, obviously we have this very topical world-changing event happening right now, but have you given thought to integrating Giveback into sort of ongoing marketing efforts? Do you, with the success you found here, do you think you're going to be building an aspect of the company into this sort of charitable aspect a bit more?
Yeah, it's something that we've put a lot of like consideration into more recently. I think it is really. If there's a way for us to continue like giving back to the community, I feel like as a brand, we have an obligation to kind of do that. And as a brand, like we speak on behalf of our customers, our community. So like really like we're the brand of the people, and like whatever our customers want us to do, like we'll probably make that happen. Right now it's, you know, it's giving back. We're gonna continue to give back. It's something that will make even the community that we live in a better place. So if it's good for my life, hopefully it's good for like our customers as well.
This is the kind of capitalism that we need to evolve towards as a people, because the world only gets better through, you know, I'm a big market guy. I feel like entrepreneurs are, you know, one of the bigger forces for change that we have in our world. And I think you encapsulated it really well there, which is like, if your community gets better, your business is going to get better, your life is going to get better. And if we can kind of do that in layers, like you say, it's going to be the recipe for making the whole world better.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you only need so much profits. Like if we can employ more people, if we can give back at the same time, and we can like provide for ourselves, like I don't see why we wouldn't do that.
Fantastic. Well, that's a great note to end things on. Thank you so much for coming on the hot seat today. Tell Gabriel hello. He's in your marketing department there, head of marketing.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks again. Dave, Jeff, pleasure as always.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Thanks for sharing.
That was fantastic. We'll grab a beer next time we're in Vancouver.
Thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully soon.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Stay dry out there.
Thanks, Eric.
Oh, one last question, Tony.
One last question.
I'm gonna buy a pair right now. Do they fit big or small?
They fit true to size, and they like accommodate to your foot. But are you like a 10.5?
Yeah, I'm like a 9.5 to 10-ish.
Okay, I would get a 10.
Okay, doing it.
This seems like a company initiative. So I've been wanting a pair for a while. I walk the dog every day. It rains all the time here. I'm definitely getting a pair as well.
Oh, and there's
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Tony's clone is in the house. Tony's going to be teaching a Kickstarter mastermind and a Zoom background fuckery mastermind coming.
Spice things up on the Zoom life.
Love it.
Perfect, man. Okay, peace.
Okay, take care, guys. Bye-bye. See you,
Thanks
Tony.
a lot.